Welcome to EDLD 5345, Week 4 Assignment Overview. This week we'll be talking about the T-Test evaluation system and documentation. Here are your weekly course objectives, and here are your course level objectives. Both of those can be found in Module 4 of Blackboard in the 5345 course. Here's your to-do list. Here are your readings. Just a note on this T-Test Appraiser's Handbook, when you click on that link, you're going to see a lot of pages. We just want you to be familiar with it. There is a section in there on how to score an appraisal using the rubric and how to create a refinement plan and coming up with pinpointing that area that you want that teacher to work on. So that's what you really need to focus on in this week's reading. In order to be a T-Test appraiser, you will have to go through training from the service center or your district. So just know this is just a broad brush of a stroke overview of the T-Test evaluation system and just to kind of get you used to scoring with a rubric in a classroom. You also have some chapters in the Texas Documentation Handbook and Rethinking Teacher Supervision. You have a lecture video this week on the teacher evaluation system. You have the video and the transcript is below it. This week we have a discussion board, so this is something a little different. We don't often have a discussion board in this course, but this week we do. It's on the principal and ethical behavior. You have a scenario and then you have 3 questions. So be sure you read that scenario, answer those questions fully and in depth. Think about your readings, think about what you've known, think about the code of ethics, and as you answer your colleagues, be sure that you use that same level of depth to respond back to them. So this can be a growing and learning experience for you all. The week 4 assignment is going to have the same as last week, the case study information. It is the same case study information, and you've got your week 4 assignment. So again, you've got that additional information, you've got some walkthrough notes, you've got where this teacher struggles, you've got her data, you know her experience level in areas of concern. So that's just to kind of give you a broad picture of what this teacher is and how this principal has been working with that teacher or that you've been working with that teacher, kind of those documentation pieces. As a reminder, always look at the rubric. Always look at what is expected of you, especially at that level 4. It tells you exactly what you need to have. We do that because it models the PASL. When you do the PASL, they ask that you look at what you're submitting. You go back and look at the rubric and make sure that you've hit the points. And if you don't hit the points, you may be down a level, and that could cause you not to pass the PASL. So be sure that you're using that rubric, you're looking at that rubric, and you know that your assignment has hit all those points. So for week 4, part 1, you're going to create an instructional playbook, and this comes from Jim Knight's work. He says you should have resources at your fingertips, and so he created an instructional playbook that has some instructional strategies. You can find that by Googling it. And he has some great ones. There's some other people that we'll talk about in a minute that have some great work in instructional strategies. But we're asking that you find one for each core subject area. That'd be one for math, one for science, one for social studies, one for reading, and one for writing. So you're looking for an instructional strategy for each one of those areas. And then you're also going to have some kind of corresponding checklist or walkthrough form that you're going to use once you've talked about this with your teacher and given them the step-by-step. Then you're going to say, this is what I'm going to use to come see if this is working or if you're using it correctly or what we need to do. So much like we talked about that coaching plan of how will we know it worked and what are you going to do when you come in the classroom, this is going to give you that checklist for each one of those strategies. You will use one of those strategies in part 3 of your assignment this week. So some ideas. Marzano has some great work on instructional strategies. Teach Like a Champion and Get Better Faster, we mentioned last week. Great resource books if you have them. Then look for strategies in there. And of course, Jim Knight's work. And there are many, many others. And your district may even have an instructional playbook, or your instructional coaches might. So you might ask them as well. But as we talked about last week, the 268 is all about that instructional leader, and it's going to be all levels. all subject, all levels. So you need to be prepared. So that's why we're asking that you get one for each core subject area so you can start building on it. If you choose one, let's say I'm going to choose one from Gym Night. You can copy and paste that, but you have to cite it using APA. So use that Al-Purdue site, look and cite it appropriately, but you can cut and paste it as long as you use those APA citations. So for week 4, part 2, you're going to score an evaluation. So you're kind of going to get a feel for looking at some evidence, looking at that rubric, and giving it a score based off what you know about best practice, good instruction. So with this part of the assignment, we did give you the link to the T-Test rubric. You can click on it. If it happens not to work for you, copy and paste this line right here, put it in the browser, see if that'll pull through. And if not, try another browser. Some people are having a few issues with their browsers, but not a whole lot of you, but that's just a way in case it's not working. What you're going to see in this part of the assignment is you're going to see this evidence sheet. So it's got the dimension here. It's got the evidence from that dimension here. And then it's got a blank box for the rating. So what you're going to do in general is you're going to look at that rubric. You're going to get it to match. So this is 1.1 standards and alignment. Here's the standards and alignment rubric. I want you to know with T-Test, this column right here, this middle column, this proficient column is a rock solid teacher. That's a teacher that's doing it right. They're just rock solid. When you move to this area of accomplished, they've stepped it up a little bit. And so you need to look at these indicators to see what they did differently than your rock solid teacher. And this one is they've really knocked it out of the park. Again, look at what the descriptors are. So you may just have to look at the wording and see if there's an all or almost, those kind of things, if there's an additional bullet. When you go this direction, this is a teacher that's struggling, and we know our case study teacher's struggling. So this is developing, and this is needs improvement. So again, look at those descriptors and see. Again, you can see all activities. This one says most. This one says a few. So that's kind of how you delineate how you're going to score. So we know, and just for this video only, we know our teacher's struggling. So she's somewhere between developing in some areas and needs improvement for some areas. So I'm going to look at this information, this evidence. I'm going to come over here, match up what's in these. And for this video only, you better check it because I'm just making a guess. We're going to go with a developing. She's a developing teacher in this area. So when you score, you're going to start with needs improvement. That's going to be a 1. Developing is going to be a 2. Proficient will be a 3. Accomplished will be a 4. And distinguished will be a 5. So we're going to say this teacher is developing. Again, for this video only, be sure and check it. So I would come over here and I would put the 2 in that rating column, and then I would score the rest of them. You may want to take that rubric if that's something you use, and you may want to highlight or color those differentiated words in those columns. Totally up to you. Then once you have scored it all, you're going to think about, what does this teacher really need to work on? I need to pinpoint something. Now, last week we had you do a coaching plan on dimension 2.4, which was differentiated instruction. So this week you can't use that dimension on the T-Test rubric. You're going to have to choose something else. So choose an area, choose something that's going to give you the best bang for the buck, or maybe something that's going to give you a quick win. You know, the teacher's going to catch on to it fast. It's going to start building their self-esteem. And then you can start working on other areas. Maybe it's something you can fix fairly quickly. So you're going to write the objective for the area you're going to choose on the rubric. Again, you're going to write those 3 self-reflection questions. You can use that link from last week that gave you those sample questions. Again, you do not have to cite those. Then you're going to put that evidence from the evaluation. Again, that pinpointed area only, the one thing you want to work on, you're going to say, this is what I noticed in your evaluation, and that's what you're going to tell the teacher. So you can copy and paste that again. Do not need to cite it. You're going to put up model or suggestion. So you're going to use one of those strategies from your instructional playbook. So choose wisely or choose a different one if you don't find something that works. So be sure and cite it here as well as in that first part. But again, that's just your model and suggestion for that teacher. Week 4, part 3 is all about documentation. So last week we let you choose. This week we're going to tell you what we want you to create. So we want you to create 3 different documents: a note to file, a specific incident memorandum, and a final chance. All of those are found in that Texas Documentation Handbook, which is your course handbook or your course book. So go back and read what has to be in there. Think about the things that are in there, and then you're going to create your document for our case study teacher in an area of note to file, specific incident memorandum, and a final chance memorandum. Now, if you want to step out into a different zone with that specific incident memorandum and think about maybe something the teacher did, maybe they had a testing irregularity that caused you to have to write a specific incident. Maybe they've had a conflict with a peer or a parent. So you may want to write a specific incident about that. Maybe they got in trouble with the law and you've got to write a specific memorandum about that. It may not be something that's going to cause them to lose their certificate, but it may be just something out there, not a felony, but something, a little misdemeanor that you need to take care of because it is reflecting on the school. So look in your Texas Documentation Handbook. It says what's going to fit in those areas. You choose what you want for that one for the case study teacher and write it. If you chose not to buy the book, then you will have to find your own resources on that. Right? And I love this. As a principal, this really fits. Success isn't just about what you accomplish in your life. It's about what you inspire others to do. So you've got a lot of people to inspire. You've got your staff. You've got your teachers. You've got your students. Sometimes you've even got to inspire your parents. So it's all about how you inspire them, how you handle them, how you walk alongside with them in this journey of education. And that does your heart good and gives you success as well. And with that, I'm going to say it's a good week to have a great week.